Right now is a really good time to ask the question. It's always a good question, but certainly right now, how do you spot a good RV or camper? How do you spot it? What are you looking for? What are the telltale signs of good, bad, or ugly but good?
What?
Or pretty but bad.
That happens too.
So confusing.
All right, well, let's unconfuse it. Welcome to the RV Small Talk Podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts for Princecraft RV. I am Clint.
I'm still PJ.
And I know every word to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, can we be done with this part? Because Clint's so good at it, he doesn't even know when he stopped in the middle.
He's getting faster and faster, so you won't even be able to understand him.
And with all that discussion before we started about Bohemian Rhapsody,
Yes.
I'm going to have that in my head for a week at least.
So it'll play
Lindsay.
like
Really?
3 or 4 times.
Are you going to wish you'd never been born at all?
I don't know.
Carry on, mother. Carry on.
Well, okay, so let's do some catching up with where y'all are at. Middle of Texas, string of 20, almost 30 days of 105 plus degree weather with minimum 30% humidity. I don't think I've seen anything below 30%.
You know, the best thing that happened this week at Princess Craft is when a manufacturer, and I won't say who, kept saying, no, everything's okay. It's hot here too. Don't worry about it. And then graciously they said, I'm going to send somebody down to fix this. He got here and said, dang, it's hot here. I can't fix this.
Right. And so just a little thing. When a manufacturer says, no, it's hot here too, they're saying we test our systems and our designs in the heat. But
That's right.
But do you?
But is it
Not
this
Texas
heat?
It's not the same. And everyone is acclimated. Fair enough. You're acclimated. Where you're at, it surely in the summertime, it feels like it's hot.
That's right.
Because it's all relative.
That's right.
But it's relatively hotter here.
You know, you got my kid that soccer net and that soccer ball for his birthday, which was the beginning of July. And it is, I mean, everything he has asked for months and months and months and months and months.
Outside
And
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a soccer net and a soccer ball, he's played with it twice.
Because it's too
And he wants to. He literally goes up to the window and he's like, can I go play soccer? And I'm like, yes, but you can't be out there for more than 10, 15 minutes. And then you got to come back in. And he's like, it's too hot. It's too hot. People can't even go outside unless you're near
Right.
water. But, you know, we just hang out. The only time I go outside is when that girl over there makes me do TikToks.
Who, Caitlin?
Caitlin.
Caitlin, yes.
What would a podcast be if we don't mention Caitlin?
Well,
in this
since
day
we
and
have a
age?
Caitlin.
I know. I feel like ever since Caitlin came aboard, she's like a part of the team, even though she doesn't have a microphone. And, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts where there's like, you know, that
Someone
one
off
person
camera.
off camera. And usually like if you're discussing something and you don't know the answer, then the person
Right.
off camera will occasionally be like, oh, I know the answer. Here it is. And like, look it up. So like, I feel like that's our Caitlin, even
Yeah,
though she's
I
just
think
sitting
that's
over there
the-
trying to write show notes.
I think that's the producer role in radio shows too. You know, there's always someone in the producer booth or whatever.
Yeah.
Behind some piece of glass.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was more like that show where that guy next door always, you could see the top of his hat or something.
Yeah, Home Improvement.
Yes, but you never saw him. Or, Big Bang Theory, where that one guy's mom always yells into
Howard's mom.
Howard's mom is always yelling something,
Yeah.
but you never see her. Caitlin's kind of like that. She's that mystery person. Only she's not.
Caitlin.
She's not obnoxious like those guys we were just talking.
Caitlin, be more obnoxious. We need that in our show.
No.
Hey, Caitlin. Love you.
Whole discussion today about saying love ya. We're
Yeah.
doing a social experiment. Guys, do you say love ya?
If you're listening right now,
I love you.
we do.
All right. So, okay.
Okay.
I didn't discuss this with y'all beforehand, but the first thing I think of when I see this subject on this podcast, which I'm very excited about, is like, what are some things that people that aren't in the RV industry look at and say, oh, that's quality, but it's not.
Yeah, it's just the looks. I mean, it's such a surface level. I like it because of how it looks.
Of how it looks.
And how I feel in a particular spot inside the trailer usually.
Well, I think people,
I like those cushions.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised at how much energy goes into picking the wall color and the fabric that goes on the dinette and the little trim and what the backsplash is and, you know, the contrasts and the non-contrasts and all of the first impressions that you get when you walk in.
Sure.
And
it's makeup.
some of the, good point, the entry level trailers, which is the best way to put it, that probably are not the best quality, look really cool when you walk in.
Sure.
Because they have been designed well.
So this is an invitation to look closer.
Yes, we're talking about build. We're not talking about design. And then there's some that are built just fine or really built high quality. And the first impression is just not all that great.
You almost have to be sold on, you know, and there's different audiences for these sort of things.
That's right.
But I agree with you. There's some you get in and you're like, I don't know. It's just kind of it's here kind of option. And then someone fills you in on the bones. And you're like, oh.
But some people, I think there's two kinds of buyers, honestly. And I won't spend too long on this. We need to get to talking about what we're here for. But
I have an empty SD card recording this whole thing. You go for it.
I can just ramble for days. You know that, Glenn. But there are some people who we endearingly call the engineer brains. And they want to know all the engineering specs of it. They want to know the the weights and the strengths and the R factors. And they want to know all these things about the trailer. And to them, that's the most important thing.
To me, that's the do your research. And then their mantra is like, buy once, cry once. You know, they do all that engineering research and they know that they're going to get a higher quality thing and they're going to pay for it because the engineering and the components and build. And they're like, it's going to cost more. Buy once, cry once.
Maybe. But then there's the other buyer that just wants something pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks great. Oh, we would have so much fun. Oh, look, there's a TV. And a TV and a recliner is pretty much all some people are looking for.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I mean...
So that's the amenity buyer.
And they don't want to look anymore. They want it to be pretty.
Right.
And maybe their house has a whole bunch of kids, so it's not perfectly neat. They go into this perfectly clean, neat, very trendy interior. And that's what they're looking for. And then we hope that the majority of the people that are looking are somewhere in the middle. And they're gauging. Right. Because that's who we're speaking to when we talk about this today.
And we've talked about this so many times. There's a market for almost anything out there.
That's right.
And you will like things that you are the market for, and you will dislike, sometimes vehemently, things that you aren't the market for. You may not understand it. You might not let yourself understand it. No, I get it, but those people who like that are dumb, you know? And we see that and hear that all the time online.
Yeah.
Where's the bathroom in that little bitty trailer? Well, that's not the way that trailer was designed to be used. And the people who it's designed for get that.
I think so. I hope so. But what we're talking about today is simply, if you are interested in quality, what are you looking for? What are you going to see? Is this bad quality or is it just not the best quality?
Can I say that you're going to hear oftentimes there's a reason for this stereotype, but it's not 100% true. Stereotypically, people will say the stick and tin builds are just across the board lower quality than other things. There's a reason for the stereotype. Oftentimes there is in any subject. However, there are some well-built, wood-framed options out there. They just might not be as light and whatnot. You might have to maintain them differently.
Well, is that part of our framing section in here?
It might. I don't know. Do we? Well, I guess we do. So yeah, let's bring that up again later.
Okay.
So what's the first thing? What's the first thing that kind of tells you something about the quality.
Well,
how about one of the first things that comes up in the comments on our YouTube videos?
Everyone says, is it 4-season?
Right.
Do they even know what that means? And then we do have people who very graciously say, yeah, what exactly is included in a 4-season trailer?
Because it could mean
lots of things.
4-season is kind of like saying, is it off-road? Like there's no official, like,
check
if
boxes.
I say it's off-road, it means it has this, this, and this. It's just something that anybody could say.
There's no rating board out there.
Yeah, you could say, yeah, it's off-road because it has knobbier tires, but that doesn't, there's no standard. So things like 4-season, usually when you're looking for something that will go extreme hot or extreme cold, if that's how you plan on camping, you want to look for a few things in particular. One of them is a heated and enclosed underbelly. Now, will one of you explain, can it be one of those things and not the other? Can it be enclosed but not heated?
Yes.
Because I only ever hear it together.
Well, here's what that means. Enclosed means that you have tanks.
It's not open.
I like my underbelly to be enclosed too. That's where I wear shirts.
Your underbelly?
Yes.
That's
it's
like your
enclosed.
It's like your
I think
upper
that's your
fupa.
outer belly.
No, under. It's like here.
I have long.
So it
I have a long
stick,
torso. This is
your
not.
Belly doesn't
it's not
stick
always
out
easy.
under your shirt.
I have to buy long T-shirts.
Well, if you're talking about a trailer,
Yes.
they're talking about tanks.
Yes.
And I don't want you to relate this
I want to.
as
though.
your shirts.
Oh, okay.
Tanks. The tanks of the trailer are mounted underneath the floor. And some trailers you can simply look underneath
You see them.
and see the tanks.
That's right.
And it will, I mean, just to be clear, it literally looks like a big plastic tank.
They ain't got no shame. They'll show you
Giant-
everything.
A giant square
Look at my tank.
milk jug.
We're not going to get through this podcast.
I don't think so.
Well, if you look at the size of the tanks on this one, it's got dumps like a truck.
Oh, la la.
So
What do you think? Never mind.
obviously, no, stop. Y'all stop.
Okay.
So the enclosed simply means that they put a panel underneath it and they blow hot air in there so they don't freeze.
No, that's the heated part of enclosed.
That's the heated and enclosed.
So it can technically be enclosed. You could enclose it yourself. Most people wouldn't do that. I can't think of anyone who ever has, but you could.
Well,
you could
it's-
enclose it yourself.
The problem with you
Don't be giving them ideas, Clint.
Ideas.
ideas, but if you enclose it, then the whole frame has to come down, and there's no way to do that if it's not built that way.
Okay.
But you can heat a tank without enclosing it.
And you
heat
can wrap them too.
the inside of
with
the
blankets.
tank. Okay, but what we're talking about here is finding what do you look for in a quality trailer?
I love how this is the fourth or
get
fifth
the
time.
train back on track. Thank you. Okay, so first you're going to look for a heated and enclosed underbelly. Secondly, something that not a lot of people know to look for or ask about is heated and enclosed valves. And the way that it was explained to me, I remember this was first explained to me by Lance because they have a heated and enclosed underbelly and they also have heated and enclosed valves because they said, what good is if you can't pull the valve, if the valve is frozen, then why does it matter if your tanks are heated if you cannot empty them?
Well, it does help that they're not going to freeze and crack.
They're gonna hold there. I get
However,
that. You can't
if
use them.
If you can't open the valve to dump them, it makes it
Right.
just a whole lot harder.
You're a little bit limited.
So it's nice to have everything heated, but there's different ways to heat them. So when it says heated and enclosed, generally what they're doing is when you're running the furnace, part of that furnace air is going down into the basement where the tanks are and keeping them warm. However, what happens when it's 27 degrees outside and you are driving and your furnace obviously is not on, the camper's closed up, and you're driving 10 hours in below freezing weather?
What does happen?
Well, your tanks freeze if they're not heated. And one way to heat them is to put a heating pad on it.
12-volt system. Yep.
A little 12-volt system. You flip a switch and your battery heats up this, basically a electric blanket.
A little blankie for
That's
your
right.
tanky.
Yep, a blankie for your tanky. And you can wrap them and insulate them and all these things to help as well. So be sure you understand what piece of that is part of your 4-season system, because it depends on how you use it. If you just get caught in freezing weather on occasion when you're not expecting it, don't worry about it. A straight heated and enclosed or an electric blanket is both going to work just fine.
Okay. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that there are quite a few RV manufacturers out there that have these aspects to their trailers, but they don't put a sticker on there that says 4-season. And so you might actually be able to go around and look with your eyes or ask your, consult with your salesperson and go, well, I see that this doesn't say 4-season. Can you tell me about how it's built? Like, does it have an enclosed underbelly? Many times, yes. Okay, well, great. Then let's ask the other questions, because there are manufacturers out there that won't have the 4-season rating sticker.
Right. And an enclosed underbelly is going to help you with rodents and road dust that gets up there, or a rock that jumps up and hits some wiring or anything like that. So, it's always nice to have, but there are other things in a 4-season trailer. You want to have good insulation in the walls, in the floor, and in the roof.
Right.
Because sometimes you only get some of that. And a lot of manufacturers won't give you an R factor. They won't give you the R value on how much insulation is there.
That's a question that comes up.
Why not?
Yeah. Partly because things can change, or they have a little bit less here and a little more there. And so it's hard to give people that information. Right. And then you add Asdel or a panel on the outside or the Phylon. It adds to that R factor. So it's hard to guess. And, you don't want to say anything that people can challenge and say, that's not right. You said it was also a 7, but it's only a 6.
And people are really thinking super residentially when they're talking R values.
Sure.
They're thinking about what they know about when they go to the home store, or they've built a house and they've researched it, what have you. And those R values and the materials, they're kind of the same, but the way these trailers are built, the walls are so much thinner. Can you imagine a residential thickness wall on these trailers? You'd have almost no floor space inside.
Yeah.
The roof would be so low. I mean, it can be done, but and a lot of these are built with block foam insulation, whereas a lot of houses have blown in.
Right.
And so if you're driving with blown in insulation, that stuff just settles down.
Well,
so
yes, that's exactly true. So insulation in these is different, as long as you feel like it's well insulated, and they will tout that if they're trying to let you know they've done an extra good job there. And some people will even put the water tanks underneath the bed. So if you're camping and it gets below freezing,
you have a water bed.
You have water underneath the bed. That's going to stay warm with your furnace, and you can put
have
a little
a heated water
antifreeze.
bed.
Yes,
That
and
makes
then
me
you
wet my
can
bed.
put a. Oh my gosh!
We let you talk seriously for a really long time, just to be fair. We're not even past the first paragraph of this podcast.
How about dual pane windows, Lindsay?
Yes, let's move on to windows.
I feel like BJ's working with dual panes.
Yeah.
Up top. So, dual pane windows, my goodness. You know what dual pane is, right? It's 2 pieces.
Yeah. And
instead of 1.
And there's been a big push residentially for dual pane windows in our houses. It does save on thermal value, on, insulative, but also noise. So there's a lot going on for dual pane in residential world. That carries over if you can use the same technologies.
You can have glass or acrylic. I have seen more acrylic than anything. Is that like a new popular thing?
It's easier to spot, honestly. Seeing a dual pane piece of glass is not necessarily.
Because it just looks like a piece of glass.
It looks like a piece of glass. Right. However, you're right. The acrylic is such a good technology and it's so easy for the manufacturers to work with. And then my understanding is the manufacturer can basically go to the manufacturers of the windows and say, this is the size window I want. And it's not that hard for the acrylic manufacturers to meet their needs.
Just make whatever size.
Ooh, that would be cool.
I think that that's actually the case. I do believe it's Cody that I was in conversation with in our service department who said, yeah, that's one reason to go for it, because you can design for a window that isn't even, readily available, and it can be made very easily.
One of the things I really like about the acrylic dual pane windows is that you really do have the best of both worlds. When it's closed and you need the insulation, it has, of course, that space between the two panes. So you get extra insulation there.
Yes.
But if you need the air to come in, you can open it and you get the entire window
They swing
open
on up like an awning.
instead of a sliding window where you only get half of it. So that is a really nice feature that some of the quality campers have started putting in there, partly because of the insulation, partly because the visibility. You can get a large window in there.
Right.
They weigh less.
Right.
And guess what? They cost more.
But here's the thing. Like, speaking from camping in Texas, windows can make a huge difference when you're camping. Like, everybody wants a camper with a lot of windows, right? They like walk in and they're like, look how many windows there are. This is my favorite. Like, yeah, we love a window. We love a window.
But they leak your cold air straight on out.
Right. When you're camping in heat or cold, which chances are you're not going to be camping where it's just gorgeous all the time. Windows will literally make or break how comfortable you are in your trailer.
Right.
Every time. So when you're looking for a camper, walk in and say, oh my goodness, I love all these windows, but then make sure you know what kind of windows they are.
Another thing is sound.
Yep.
If you're a campground camper, oh my gosh.
They is loud, especially if I'm camping next to you.
That's right. That is true. If you see a horizon out there, you need to ask for the other space.
Wow. What if they want a party?
Yeah, if you want a party, Lindsay's your girl.
I don't. Only until 9:30.
Yes, she does that. That's true. That's true. You're pretty wimpy. But that is something to consider.
Yeah.
A quality dual pane window, whether it's acrylic or whether it's glass, is going to keep some of the noise out. And sometimes it's just people walking by in the middle of the night. That's why canvas is hard for me. It's not that I'm too wimpy to be in a tent or have some canvas on a trailer. It's that I hear everybody getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
And camper doors opening and closing, man, that can be loud.
So, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's my scenario. Is I have rather large canvas sections on my trailer, and that's one reason why we try to camp in pretty far away places if we can.
Right.
But to that same discussion, like we had with windows, there's different grades of canvas.
It's true.
So research, get up there, touch the canvas, ask questions about the canvas, contact the manufacturer if you need to. Some canvases do a fantastic job, as far as canvases go. It's not as good as a wall. Not even close.
It's not as good as a wall.
It's not. But
Thanks, Clint.
Some of them really do a fantastic job for what they are of insulation. They're really heavy duty, thick. They shed water well. They don't let water in. And I've really enjoyed my canvas sided trailers.
Well, and it's like windows. There's reasons to have them, and one of them is weight. You get a versatile trailer like you have, and you've got sides that tip out with canvas on the top, so you don't have all that extra added weight, and you can sleep a boatload of people.
Yeah.
So in a very small, lightweight trailer.
Yeah.
So that works for you.
Let's move on
to the framing discussion.
Bye-bye, windows.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Clint, how long do you think it's been since we've done a podcast and I haven't accidentally kicked your leg while I'm trying to cross my legs?
Well, I don't know. I'm just I don't know.
You don't notice it?
I do notice it, but I just
all the time.
Yeah. So okay.
Aluminum framing.
We mostly, for the longest time, have carried predominantly just aluminum framed units here at Princess Craft. In my time here, I've only been here 5 years and 2 months.
So what else could it be framed with? Wood?
Certainly could be wood.
Roger Rabbit?
I do not believe so.
Eddie.
Definitely
Eddie. Okay. So it could be wood. But there's, let's talk about the aluminum and then let's talk about the fiberglass. But let's go with aluminum first. It's the strength to weight ratio works in the favor of aluminum, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Aluminum is lighter weight than wood. There are complaints that aluminum doesn't flex. There is the wood camp and there's the aluminum camp. But almost everything that's built now is going to say aluminum framed. But there's different thicknesses of aluminum.
Stuff. Yeah.
And they can be stapled, glued, or bead welded or spot welded. I mean, there's a million ways to do it with aluminum.
Right.
So aluminum framed is something that people use to say, this is really high quality. But
there's even a range in there.
I just don't think you can lean on that.
A lot of people will say aluminum framed, and it's literally just the outer edge, like the bezel edge, if you will, like a picture frame. And every stud inside of that picture frame is actually wood. And they still get away with saying aluminum framed.
Yeah.
Like the superstructure.
How do you ask, what would somebody ask to understand if the camper they're looking at is aluminum framed or aluminum framed? I don't know. What's the opposite of quotes?
That's a really good question. And I think there's most of the salesmen out there won't know. They won't know. They won't know how to
tell them, PJ. You
so
tell them.
This is a good time to actually go to manufacturer websites or brochures, but likely websites for that information.
And get that picture where it like cuts the camper in half and you see like all the layers of it.
Well,
yeah, like the old anatomy books where you can like see the different layers.
The
peeled back.
cell or the skin, and then the underskin, and then the underskin, and then the underskin.
I don't understand. Okay.
So
I think
hot in here.
This is a terrible thing to say, but I think almost everybody says we're aluminum framed. And I just think you need to go, all right, let me take a look at the rest of the trailer. Because if you look underneath the trailer, it's going to be a steel chassis in 95% of everything that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good or bad?
It's fine.
As far as quality.
It's heavier.
Yeah.
It's just heavier. So you can't tell. You can't see the aluminum framing.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a
see much.
That's a little bit of a not well kept secret, but a lot of the frames of trailers don't actually get built at the manufacturer. They're ordered in from like a Lippert or somewhere else that makes general frames, and then the manufacturer of the RV builds the coach on top of a frame that they had shipped in.
Well, I think we're talking about two different things. A frame is the framing on the walls, the sidewalls, and the roof. The chassis is what you're talking about.
I mean, that's used interchangeably though, where people say the frame and they may actually mean the chassis.
Yes, people do use it interchangeably. So I was just going to explain that the framing, if it's aluminum, I think that's great. Nice to see. You don't know if it's mostly aluminum, some wood, or things like that.
If it's all aluminum, guaranteed that manufacturer will tout that, very clearly.
There's something else I think I would ask here if you want to look for quality and you're asking about framing. See if they can take a picture of a unit before they put walls on it, or if you can find one somewhere, because a lot of times they won't frame around the windows or around every opening, and because it's just cheaper that way. Almost every solid walled camper, meaning not a stick and tin with a wavy aluminum on the side.
Right.
Every fiberglass sided camper is pretty much laminated these days. So it runs through a lamination and it heats it up, presses it together, makes it one piece. The aluminum frame in there is really going to hold that wall together. You're going to put it up there. And then is there going to be framing around the window to keep it from getting leaks and getting loose
Yeah.
over time?
Shifting, yeah.
Or are they just going to route around a big hole and clamp in a window? Because you have choices there.
Sure.
So that's what I say about aluminum framing. Almost
And I'm
everybody's
sticking to
going to
it.
say, aluminum framing, we're awesome. Well, it can be
Sure.
better
So-
or just okay.
So if you're looking at a camper and it says aluminum framing, just dig a little deeper.
Yep. And go inside and look around it like the framing inside the cabinets.
Yeah, just
inside the
punch a
under
hole in the wall.
dinette.
Yeah.
What?
You're just
So
doing
get
your
your
due
router
diligence,
out, take
your
a big
research.
hole of the side. They won't mind.
Just punch it. Just punch it real hard.
Okay, so this is a buzzword, and it's kind of like the Kleenex topic. Go get me a Kleenex when you just mean a facial tissue, and you know that you bought the store
Nobody's
brand.
going to say facial tissue though, and nobody says ibuprofen. Well, our family does
Yeah,
for some
y'all are
weird
weird
reason.
about that.
But
But Asdel,
Advil.
Asdel in the walls, it's by and large the number one player in this kind of field. So Asdel, tell us about Asdel. And there's different brands out there
Yeah.
that make something just like it.
Tell us about Asdale. Instead of this, cha-chung, 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 it's like this. Squeesh.
Once upon a time in the land of the Asdelians.
When a mommy Asdale and a daddy Asdale love each other very much.
I remember when Asdel first I just have to ignore him, guys. When Asdel first came out and the reps were so excited, they would come and they want to do their show off thing. They would take a glass of water and dump a strip of a little square of Asdel in it. And it could just sit there for a few minutes. And then they pull it out and say, see, water won't hurt it. You won't have any delamination.
And you're but sure.
Well, and Asdel is a huge step forward in the building process. But because they say Asdel, usually it's just on the outside,
Right.
which means things can come loose on the inside. Because what Asdel is taking the place of is Luan, which is a really thin paneling board
Yeah.
of wood. And so if you get any water in there, that can swell up.
Right.
So if Asdel is underneath the phylon, which is the fiberglass thin layer of the fiberglass sheet that's glued on there, you can, if any water gets in there, that wood swells, you have delam.
Sure, absolutely. All kinds of issues. But so what you're saying is usually a lot of Asdel will be on the most exterior side of that little sandwich. But there are some builders that are using Asdel on the interior of the wall
They
too.
use it on
Or
both
both.
sides.
And
Yeah.
the roof.
Yeah.
Some builders put Asdale on the roof, which really helps with, again, like the heat, the insulation, and leaking. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of like aluminum framing. If somebody says, oh, this camper is great, super high quality, it has Asdale.
Tell me more. Tell me more about
Okay,
where,
well,
how.
yeah, where and how much and... You know.
So this is, in my mind, akin to the Tyvek and other moisture barriers that they build houses with. And I haven't done any research on how closely these products are related. But the fact that I don't think there's any products that Tyvek is part of the actual lamination. I don't think that product does it, but Asdel does. It laminates very well.
Right. And very occasionally we see some delam issues, and it's usually glue related. It is not.
It's the adhesive.
It is not the board underneath coming loose, because that composite doesn't swell. It doesn't do anything when it gets wet. It doesn't rot. It doesn't mildew. So it won't smell bad. So you don't have any problems with it changing shape.
Yeah.
Which is what wood does when it gets wet or it gets moisture in it, or it starts to grow things.
Now, Asdel is in so many manufacturer products, but there is at least one other name out there that isn't Asdel, and it's pretty much the same stuff. And I'm missing it.
Caitlin?
Caitlin, look it up, please.
I don't know what you're talking about.
there's like an off-brand Asdel,
Oh,
but it's the same stuff.
But if you're looking for a quality camper and you're shopping around, it'd probably be nice to know the other name.
Exactly. That's what I was coming around to. Is you can ask for Asdel and they'll say, well, it has such and such. Oh, well, that's a perfectly fine competitive product.
So, like, what's Kleenex's competitor?
Whatever the store brand is, Good and Gather.
7-Eleven.
Nice. You know, another thing that I like about Asdel is if you do have a non-canvas sided camper, unlike me, Asdel does help with the noise issue as well.
Yeah. All around, more insulation, more security.
Mm-hmm.
We love Asdale. Just look or check in how much there is.
So for someone who's not going to really be looking at the buzzword kind of stuff, the aluminum frame and the Asdel and stuff like that, but they will get into these campers, and after their first initial feel of the space, they will go to this category, RV cabinets, where you go in and you just open the doors and see how they're constructed, what they're made of, the drawers, see how they feel.
Yeah. I've definitely opened drawers, and it's like when you pull the handle, like you can feel the board like rip,
A little flex.
This is always tricky for me because RV cabinets and drawers are hard to open and close on purpose so that they don't do it while you're driving. Right. But like you gotta yank on them, and sometimes it feels like if they're not great quality, yanking on them is a terrible idea. One thing that I actually had a customer show me is like what dovetail means. I had no idea, but now I do.
Yeah.
So he would open all the drawers and see if they were dovetailed.
Right. Versus maybe stapled
together or glued together.
Uh-huh. So that's a good one to bring up is what's the joinery look like?
Joinery. How are things joined?
Yeah, and the dovetail and all, and usually you won't be able to find too many like particle board things that aren't. Particle board is usually fine, but it'll be more you're stapled and glued. Whereas if it's dovetailed, we're talking solid wood. Now there's always a trade-off. You've seen those Venn diagrams where you can have 2 of 3 things, but not all 3. Like you can have lightweight, and you can have strong, and you could have cheap.
Cost effective, yeah.
But pick 2. You can have 2, but you can't have 3. And so you might end up with the lightweight and cost effective, but that's entry level IKEA built into your trailer, or you can have lightweight and strong, but it's not going to be terribly cost effective. And where are you in your search for a trailer, and what do these things mean to you? And it's going to come out in your cabinets, cabinets and cabinet doors and drawers. Look at them.
So when you're looking at cabinets, you can ask your salesperson, what are they made of? There's a few different options. There's particle board, which hopefully you know what that is. MDF. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what that is, but it looks like it is made from sawdust and glue and similar to particle board. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then there's plywood. So you're not going to find a lot of plywood cabinets in like base RVs, but it is, I'm guessing, probably heavier than particle board.
It all depends. It almost depends on the thickness and what kind of adhesive they're using. Mm-hmm. All of these can be heavy, and you're also looking at the thickness of them.
Yeah.
But we're talking about something you want to tow. So lightweight
Put
matters.
Through an earthquake,
and that's what the engineers and designers have to balance all the time. If we put really good stuff in here, it might not be towable by the people we're targeting.
And that's kind of the thing. Like, like the TikToks we were watching the other day, where it was like, yeah, people come in and say, I would like a trailer that I can pull behind my car, but also has all of the nicest stuff.
Yeah.
And it's...
In what world?
If you're looking for quality, you have to understand that some of that is going to come with weight.
Yeah.
It's heavy because, like on Christmas when you like open your presents and they're like, okay, which one do you want next? And like, you don't choose the biggest one. You choose the heaviest one. You go pick them all up.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, you definitely want a box of lead. You like that's some quality.
Yeah. Yeah. Gold bars.
Yeah.
Steel balls.
I mean,
Do you remember that one time you gave me a steel ball for Christmas?
No,
you gave her a ball bearing.
I do not know.
No, it's like this big. I still have it. And it's just
Were you hoping it would keep her still for a few moments?
It's a sphere, and you play with it with your hands like David Bowie in the Labyrinth.
Oh, I know what
And
you're talking
now
about.
I still have it, but it's just covered in nicks because I just drop it a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So quality equals heavy sometimes.
A lot of times. I think that new space age materials is changing this. But
Spacey.
yeah.
There are some campers that use light ply,
Uh-huh.
and it's a plywood that's lighter. It's like 30% lighter than plywood.
What a great name for this product.
No,
It's like plywood, but lighter.
light ply.
Light ply.
But it's a lot more expensive.
Well, of course. See, that's the Venn diagram, right?
Yeah.
You got these two. Now you can't have that.
You know, while we're talking about wood and how things are built with cabinets and drawers, one of the things that when I walk in a trailer to see what quality materials they've used is the smell of formaldehyde. It is a nasty word after, some struggles
Yeah.
after at one point. Okay, so moving on.
What are you
If
trying
you
to
walk
say
in
here?
and a trailer smells a lot,
If it's embalming you while you breathe,
then they have used some of the least expensive wood in this trailer.
right.
And they haven't used any hardwood in the cabinets or the cabinet fronts, most likely. Now, that being said, MDF is in so many things we use today, and some of the even nicer things and more expensive things. MDF is a very standard product.
Sure.
I mean, unless you're buying Louis Shank's furniture, then you probably have bought MDF.
Oh yeah,
So-
it's out there and everything. And if it's a small amount, we're so nose blind to this smell.
I like to call it mdv
You do?
in my everyday conversation about mdv.
Yeah.
But I love to open the cabinets and look at the framing on the inside because they can do glued and stapled, they can do glued and screwed. Some campers even advertise ours are glued and screwed framing on our
Right.
cabinets. We don't just staple them together.
They do say that. Yeah.
And-
That's another thing I look for is in the walls. How are the interior wall boards? Because oftentimes it's just an interior wall board put up to those studs and what have you. How are they affixed to the walls? And staples is a very fast, efficient way to do it. But I do like screws.
Yeah.
I do. I do very much. They right here in my heart.
Seals.
Are
Are we done with cabinetry?
Yeah, except for you ought to look at the trim out as well. Look where the wall meets the ceiling.
yes. Yeah.
And what am I looking for?
I don't know.
Not shitty.
Well, there's.
Yes.
I think
Do
one-
they match? do they like
Is
look
there
like
a
they
hole
go together?
there?
If
Is
things-
this jigsaw
yeah.
puzzle fitting together correctly?
If you can see that they're misaligned, then it's not only not very good, but they're super lazy because it's easy to hide that. But
Yes.
then what are you looking for to see if they're hiding it? Well, do they have some sort of trimming work covering every place where two flats come together? A quarter round or something to hide gaps.
I just learned what a quarter round is the other day.
Yeah.
You're
It's like
learning
a
all
round,
kinds of
but a
things.
quarter. Sorry, I kicked you again.
Oh no, I kicked you that time. so I think that's one thing. Some like take for instance Lance. They CNC cut every wall panel so they fit together and they don't have to hide a single place where a wall meets another wall or the ceiling meets a wall. There's just no gap.
It looks like you expect a house to look,
Yeah.
which is super nice.
However, in
You pay
some
for it.
other builds, instead of seeing perfect edging all the way around, you'll find something that looks decorative, covering where those edges come together, because there's probably some gappage
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I live my life.
covering where the gaps are.
Yeah.
You know what?
With
That's
decorative things.
human existence. You're fine.
Buy a new plant. Just kidding. I kill everything.
Whoa. Dark turn. Happy ringtone. Okay.
All the reps are calling me during this podcast. Maybe this guy is falling. Or maybe they want to give me some trailers.
Or maybe they're listening.
Maybe. That could happen.
Another thing to maybe check or even ask about is these seals and just how they're doing the edge work on the outside. You know, get your eyes on them.
So when you're looking at seals, you're going to look for cracking, shrinking, warping, bubbling. I mean, like a seal that just doesn't look
Healthy.
good.
Yeah.
And the roof is a good place to look at that too. Now, I want to say I've seen in a lot of Facebook groups, people will just like take a picture of the roof and be like, what? I just spent this much money on this RV and look at what a terrible job they did, because it looks like
Goop.
like around the skylight or the AC or anything like that. I mean, they just goop this sealant on and it's not pretty, right? It's like
It looks like toothpaste.
wavy and it's like not pretty nice lines. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, even with quality products, it's not going to look like beautiful straight lines, especially on your roof.
No.
And you want it to be goopy.
You want to be
You
thick.
want them to put so much sealant on that thing, you know? Like, you don't want a nice thin line. But I've seen a lot of people confused because they're like, well, this looks like crap. Well, yeah, it doesn't look very pretty, but you are protected.
You might not understand. I mean, if you don't know how these materials are applied to do their job best, and that's just it. How are these materials applied to do their job best? Well, it's a bit goopy and thick. But if you don't know that, then you're just like, they just went in here willy-nilly. And
this is messy.
Yeah.
No, you want all the schmoo on your roof.
The roof is the place for the schmoo. Just ask the birds.
Oh, moving on. You know, when we're talking about seals and roofs, one of the things in looking at an RV to decide what quality it is how they've done the front of it and how the roof is done. Mm-hmm. So when you can see a trailer that has a one-piece roof that starts maybe at the very bottom of the front wall, goes up all the way around the top and back down to the bumper, that's a one-piece fiberglass roof. It is harder to build that way, and that is a real nice feature to look for. Because then you don't have as much schmoo on your roof, and fewer seams, fewer places for water to get in. And generally, that's a fiberglass roof, so you get a hard surface up there instead of a TPO or a rubber roof.
However, I don't know what the answer to this is. If it's a one-piece fiberglass roof, those roofs typically aren't walkable. Is that correct?
That's not necessarily true. That's all about the framing.
Okay, so that's why I don't know. So,
but I would also say, if you really are looking for a quality camper, quality trailer, look for one with a front cap. Because a fiberglass molded cap on the front makes it stronger. It makes it more resistance to the air and the pressure going down the road. It's going to clean easier, and it's just going to be a lot more durable and have a lot more structural issues.
So
with the front
cap is different than a one-piece roof?
Well, you can have a one-piece roof,
but it'll start a little higher behind the cap, right?
So what is a cap?
A fiberglass mold that is the front of the trailer.
Over the wall or in place of the wall?
In place of the wall.
Right.
Okay.
So it's separate from a one-piece
So then you
roof.
have another seam if you have a cap.
Correct.
So how is a cap different than I'm confused. If you just have fiberglass going from here up, over, and down, how is that different than having a fiberglass cap in the front and then the roof going down?
If your fiberglass cap goes up and around, you're going to not have square corners at the top and bottom, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be curved because that pylon has to roll, which is great. Most trailers do have a curve at the top. But on those curves, they're not going to be able to make that a solid laminated wall. It's going to be framed, but it's going to have that pylon wrap going all the way around, which is great because you have less seams. But if instead of having it start at the bottom and covering the front of the trailer, you have a molded hard shell fiberglass cap on the front of that trailer, it's not going to flex with the wind. It's not going to move. It's not going to wrinkle.
Right.
It's going to protect the front of that camper. And the roof is going to start at the top of that cap.
And that's where you get a lot of the more interesting, nice, modern-looking design front profiles.
That's
on the trailers.
right.
A little bit more aerodynamic, a little bit more character to them.
But it's
Character for sure.
That's right. Yeah. But it's the front of that trailer that's going to take the beating from going down the road.
Yeah.
So having that molded cap just protects it. It's like putting a helmet on the front of your trailer.
Yeah.
So that is quality.
Which brings us
Cool.
right back to it's almost football season, PJ.
I know. I keep bringing that up.
Almost football season.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Man, you know what that reminds me of? 12-volt compressor fridges.
I can see why.
Yeah.
I don't think I could explain it, but I can definitely see why.
Talk about quality.
So maybe that's one of those things where if you get into a trailer or a camper and you're just getting acquainted, you look around and you say, well, it looks like it has nice decision making in the appliances they included. That can actually mean something as well. Is it a known brand out there? The Suburbans, the Dometics, the Furions out there, pretty good standard stuff to find all throughout. They've been kind of, at this point, proven through the years. Or is it something that just doesn't, I mean, it looks like found something pretty quick and easy on Amazon, threw it in the trailer. You know,
honestly, with appliances and RVs, if they look really nice and well done, and they have a beautiful glass top, and whatever it is looks really nice, it's going to be quality. It's going to be as good as it gets. If you get to high-end units, they're going to have a front of a refrigerator that's going to look like the cabinetry.
Yeah.
That's a little extra bonus. They try to follow the residential markets, but there are some cheaper appliances out there, and you'll spot them. They might have a metal top on them instead of a glass top.
Sure.
Or one of the things that you'll notice is faucets.
Yes.
You can put
Those
a
fixtures.
$150 faucet, or you could put probably a $29 faucet. But the good news is faucets can be changed.
Easily.
Easily
could do it.
changed. But that is something that you can tell, what quality pieces they put in the camper by looking at things like the faucet.
This
and
feels like the
fixtures.
conversation is trying to quickly assess what corners have been cut. Is what this kind of boils down to. Use your eyes and find those corners.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. A couple things just quickly is I like to be aware of how they prepared for my type of travel, like tank capacities, which that doesn't mean a trailer with a small tank isn't a quality build. The teardrop trailers, they aren't big trailers. They often don't have big tank capacities. It's still a very high quality build, a lot of them. But it's nice to know how they engineered it and built it for my travel.
Yeah,
But also, how did they maybe pre-wire and to set me up for electronic expansion and all that? Obviously, a lot of these are coming with pre-wire for solar.
Or backup cameras.
Right. And I think that's a nice nod to the manufacturer knowing their audience and that the audience wants to keep doing this with this trailer for years. If it looks like the trailer is built with a nod to you might use this for 10 plus years, then it's probably leaning on the quality side. At least to me.
Right.
If it's expandable in those ways. So, all right. Anything else?
Just a disclaimer. I feel like it's important to say that these are all really great ways to spot a quality camper if that's what you're looking for. But you don't need all of these things. You
Not
can
to have a
just
great time.
find what fits you and what fits your budget and what fits what type of camping you want to do.
And your time frame. Maybe
go
you just want a
camping.
3-year camper.
Yes.
A 3-year camper is not that expensive.
I'm worried about sounding like snobs. You don't need all these things, but if quality is on the top of your list, these are the things that you should ask about because people can be tricky.
And you can have a quality good time in almost any location with almost anything.
What a tagline, Clint.
I know. That was
You can
really
have a
good.
quality good time. Did you hear that, Caitlin?
I have no idea
Did you
where
write
we're
that in
gonna
the
use
show
that, but
notes?
I'm making a sticker.
He ought to be in advertising. I'm just saying.
I mean, he kind of is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that brings us to all the thoughts that we had laid out. Anything come
We
to
had a
mind?
lot of thoughts.
So many thoughts.
Oh, I have an idea.
What?
Every single person who's listening right now, unless you're driving, go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review. That would be super helpful. It helps show our podcast to other people, which we love.
That's right.
That's all I got.
I wanted to work in Apple and earworms somehow, and it just hasn't come together yet. So I'm just going to mention that that's something I'm working on.
Apple, worm, ear, apple.
Well, since Lindsay did that part, I can say there is a partial eclipse in the fall and a total eclipse in the spring. And one of them is during our tiny trailer rally in Bandera, where it is a great view. The other one is right after the total eclipse in Bandera, where there is still camping spaces. So y'all drive from all over. It is a great viewing spot. And total eclipse, I mean, come on.
So if you're looking for a place to photograph the total eclipse or view it or whatever, I mean, campsites everywhere along the path of its viewing are sold out. But we have a spot. If you come to the rally next spring, then you get to camp the weekend before for the total eclipse as well. They still have spots. They're open to rally people only. So check out TexasTinyTrailerRally.com for dates, for information, for signups. The rally is completely free. You just have to sign up, or you just have to pay for your spot at the park. So
Y'all
check
look
it
it
out.
up. Texas Tiny Trailer Rally.
You can meet us.
All right. Well, show notes for this episode are rvsmalltalk.com. You can
Written
find
by
us
Caitlin.
Written by Caitlin. You can find us on social media, RV Small Talk. You can find us on YouTube, RV Small Talk Podcast. That's a wrap.
Rippity rap. Hey, make up a rap right now, but you can't say Mom's spaghetti. Go.
Daddy Spaghetti.
I was going to beatbox for you, but I lost it. I just spit all over my hand. All right. Guess we'll see you next time.
Bye.